Okay, we are headed out to go pick up our Azure Standard order. Our family just drove an hour and a half to the nearest town where Azure Standard delivers. I'm going to show you why it's completely worth it, what I buy, and how it works. If you've had questions about Azure Standard, this is the video for you.
Welcome to the From Scratch Farmhouse. Come learn with us.
Okay, I'm just going to give you a really quick overview of how Azure works. So when you sign up and make an account, you're going to pick a drop point. So on the screen, you can see that my drop point here is Spirit Mountain. So then it will give you, after you have that information in there, it will give you your cutoff date. So you can see on mine, it says that there's 14 days, 2 hours, 46 minutes until my cutoff time. That means I have up until that point to order for a pickup date of March 3rd, which is the next stop at my drop point. Okay, so up until this cutoff point, I can add things to my cart and make my purchase. Make sure that you actually hit order though, because there has been times when I've continually added things to my cart and actually forgot to hit purchase. Also, if you click on your drop point, it will tell you when all of the different cutoffs coming up are and drop points coming up are. You can have several different drop points if your area has such a thing. I'm pretty limited, but I know that some people are part of a few different drop points that deliver on different days so that they can have more flexibility with when they get to their delivery. Azure also delivers by parcel carrier. However, I found that to be too cost prohibitive and it didn't really make sense for me. You can shop their site by just clicking on the different categories. They seriously have about everything under the sun. They used to be mostly food, but they've definitely expanded what they sell.
Okay, so you've placed your order. What happens next? Well, you're going to get a confirmation email from Azure, and then you're also going to get contacted by your drop point coordinator. The drop point coordinator is in charge of telling you what time you need to be there and also keeping you updated on any changes, like what time the driver is going to be at your delivery point. You need to show up on time. Actually, you need to show up a little bit before so that you're prepared, because when those delivery drivers come through, they are in a hurry to get everything unloaded so they can move on to their next stop. So when you show up, you're going to open up your car and then you're going to head to the truck as soon as it gets there. He's going to start putting stuff towards the back of the truck. You're going to start grabbing stuff, getting it divvied out. You grab everything and then just sort it out amongst you. It's kind of a community effort and it's actually a lot of fun, especially when the weather isn't super cold. Okay, so we went to our Azure drop, we picked up all our stuff and hauled it all in last night. Actually, that's a lie. This stuff has been sitting in my dining room for a week, waiting to film this video. Welcome to big family life. But anyway, I'm gonna walk you through everything that we got and my best tips for getting the most out of Azure, and then I can finally put all this stuff away.
Okay, I'm going to start by going through the bulk ingredients I get first because I feel like that's really where the savings is at with Azure. The reason for this is because it's difficult to find a 50-pound bag of rolled oats locally, at least for me and where we live. And then if you try to order that online, the shipping can be outrageous. So this is really where I save the most money. The top one is organic soft white wheat. This is a wheat berry that I store in bulk and then grind with my grain mill. Soft white wheat is used in things like pastries. The next bag there is organic cane sugar, and we buy this in bulk, although we try to stick away from cane sugar and use things like honey and maple syrup. It does make its way into my recipes, so it's nice to have on hand. The next smaller bag down there is whole corn, and this is actually my first time purchasing whole corn for this purpose, but I will be milling it in my grain mill to make homemade corn flour. The next bag is organic regular rolled oats, a massive quantity of it because we use it a lot. It is a staple in a lot of our breakfast items, and with a big family, we can go through this large quantity pretty quickly. The next thing there is hard white wheat, which is my go-to for things like bread. And yes, I do grind that myself. It is wheat berries, so I'm grinding it myself in a home grain mill to make the flour. The last bag there is certified organic quick rolled oats. Again, we go through this pretty quickly in a big family, so it was nice to find a massive bag and be able to have it on hand. Another thing I like to buy through Azure are nuts in bulk. And this is because it's another heavier item, so it's pretty expensive to ship it normally, but I can just buy large quantities when I do my Azure order, and then I'm saving a lot of shipping. So these are large cashew pieces, which I use to make cashew milk and in different recipes. Okay, this whole box is full of canned coconut milk. I have a few dairy-free kids, so we often make coconut yogurt, coconut desserts, and a few of my dinners also include coconut milk. Another thing I love to buy from Azure are glass jars, whether it's canning jars or these larger storage jars. It's also one of those heavy things to ship, and I just feel like I get a really good deal from Azure. These are gallon glass jars. I also buy the lids that go with them from Azure, and I love storing my bulk ingredients in my pantry in these, and they are pretty strong if they get dropped. Although I do plan on canning my own jams and jellies this year, we don't have those items now, so I'm stocking up on Azure's jams and jellies for our lunches and breakfasts. I really love this Crafters brand. It doesn't have refined sugar in it, and it tastes really good too, so I think it's a great deal. Okay, another item I plan to can this year, but obviously don't have in store right now, is salsa. And I really do like this Sweet Creek brand. It's organic and it tastes very similar to something I would make myself. Okay, this is pure calcium hydroxide. I had a few recipes that called for this, and so I just thought it'd be nice to have it in my pantry. I'm guessing I won't go through this large quantity very quickly, but it'll be nice to have on hand. So another thing with Azure is that they repackage your items into bigger boxes. So you're not left putting all these little tiny items in your car. They're nicely packaged, they stack well, it's very handy. These are dry roasted peanuts, and I bought a pretty big quantity of them because we plan to make our own peanut butter. I'm also a recent convert to Kamut grain. It's an heirloom grain, and it's supposed to be healthier for you. It doesn't have as high as a gluten concentration, and it also tastes amazing. That is balsamic vinegar. We use that a lot in different recipes, so it was nice to have on hand, and it's an organic version. Keep looking. Oh, turn it more.
Right there?
Yep. Some organic molasses for cooking and also for making our own brown sugar. Okay, this is oxygen powered bleach. I like to buy this in bulk because I use it to make my own laundry soap. Careful, bud. This is a massive quantity of apple cider vinegar. We use this in cooking, cleaning, belly aches. It's just nice to have on hand. Okay, these are the lids that I use for those glass jars. These are whole mustard seeds. I do use them in some things, but I'm also going to attempt to make my own mustard, so we'll see how that goes. Next we have Himalayan pink salt. This is their velvet texture, so it's very finely ground. It's good for using in baking or whatever you need salt for. Okay, these chocolate chips have seriously been haunting us since we brought in the boxes. My son was just telling me, I can smell the chocolate. They are so strong and they smell so good. I'm so excited to include these in my recipes and have this bulk quantity on hand. This is vegetable glycerin. I am planning on making some extracts with it. You can make extracts with vodka or rum, but since we don't keep alcohol in the house, I'm choosing to try to make the extracts with glycerin. It does take a little while longer to make them with glycerin, but I'm excited to see how it turns out. These pickles were seriously just because they looked good. Bread and butter pickles are one of my favorites, and no, I'm not pregnant. I'm just having a craving. Okay, this is organic cornstarch, which is extremely hard to find in a regular store. Most of the time it is not organic. When I use corn products, I generally want them to be organic, so I decided to buy it from Azure. This is beef gelatin. I plan on using it to thicken homemade yogurt as well as make homemade jello. This is dried celery stock, and part of the reason I decided to get this time is I was wondering if that would be a good way to preserve it in the future when we grow it in our garden. I've tried freezing it before, and it was just kind of hard to use from the freezer, so I'm excited to see how this works. These are vanilla beans. I actually use vanilla beans in quite a few different things, but most importantly, vanilla extract and also my vanilla chai tea. Here is some Himalayan pink salt, but this is the coarse ground stuff for things like when I want to sprinkle salt on top of homemade crackers. Go ahead. Okay, in this box we have raw almonds, which I use to make almond milk and also chop up for different recipes. More almonds. This is whole yellow corn, which I also will be grinding into corn flour. That bigger bag I showed you was white dent corn. These are white, small navy beans, just handy to have on hand for things like soups. Here is some shredded coconut, popcorn, which we also plan to try to grow ourselves this year. More salt. These are medjool dates, which I use to sweeten several of our recipes. Kidney beans. Here are some more jars. This is the half-gallon size, which is very handy for storing things like snacks in our pantry. Okay, this obviously already got put in the fridge, but I pulled it out to show you. It is grated Parmesan cheese. I also pulled this out of the freezer. This is Southern style hash browns. The items that I'm probably most excited about this time are the food grade buckets and lids. These are Gamma lids. I am organizing a cellar for the first time in our new home, and so I thought that these food grade buckets of both 5-gallon and 2-gallon sizes would be perfect. These Gamma Seal lids, if you haven't seen them before, are very impressive. They seal securely onto a bucket, but then you twist the center part and can easily access what's inside. Okay, I went ahead and installed one of these Gamma lids to show you how it works. So you can see my 4-year-old here can easily unscrew it and remove it. Go ahead and lift it up. And then just to close it, you just set it back on top, and then it twists to close. It did take a little effort to get it onto the bucket, but then it forms a nice, strong seal.
Okay, I've told you a little bit about how Azure works. I've shown you what we bought this time around. Now I want to answer 2 more questions that you probably have. First, how much did all of this cost? Well, it was $1,113.16, which amazingly was a huge savings financially compared to what I would have purchased this stuff for in regular quantities in a regular store. The answer to number 2, was it worth it? Absolutely. I mean, it is kind of a time commitment. You have to show up, help out, haul it all home, and store it in your home. Yes, absolutely, it's completely worth it for our family. Why? Not just for the financial savings, but also, most importantly, for the time savings. For us, it is so convenient to be able to buy these large quantities at a time and store them versus trying to source healthy ingredients online or in our regular stores. It also allows us to plan meals 3 months in advance. I have a whole nother video about how I long-term meal plan or plan our meals at a minimum 3 months in advance, and I will leave the link to that video in the cards and below. Okay, I now just want to give you some quick tips for getting the most out of Azure that I've learned through the years. Number 1 is check to make sure that the quantity that you're ordering, of the item you're ordering, is not low in stock, because there is a chance that it wouldn't ship at all. So for example, if there was only 3 left, if it got to the point that your order shipped and there wasn't enough left, it simply wouldn't ship, and you wouldn't know until all of your stuff was on the truck. The biggest bummer is when this happens and you're driving to a drop point and taking time out of your day to go to the drop point, and only like one of your items that you actually didn't really care much about shipped, but your big items were out of stock. So the way that you can avoid this is by, when you're ordering, checking the quantity available to make sure that it's not low in stock. And then what you can do is, let's say I wanted to order a pound of this garlic powder. Well, instead of the pound, because let's say it's getting low in stock, I could change it to ordering 4 of the 4-ounce packages and still get the quantity I need, but without the risk of it not shipping at all. Hopefully that makes sense. Tip number 2, make sure to check your drop point before you order, because especially if you're signed up for more than one drop point, you want to make sure that your stuff is getting delivered to the right place. Tip number 3, make sure you check the sales. That is where you're going to get the best savings through Azure. They actually have a monthly sales flyer that you can add to your order so that you can look at it for next time, but you can also look at the sales on their website. Tip number 4 is have a buddy that goes to the same drop point. Why is this important? Because you don't want your stuff left on the side of the road like has happened to me. Okay, so life happens and sometimes you can't show up at the right time. So it is very convenient to have the phone number of a few people who also go to the same drop point so that you can say, hey, I'm not gonna make it, can you grab my stuff? Otherwise, it's gonna get sent back on the truck for an added fee, or in my case, left on the side of the road. Okay, I've given you the rundown on how Azure works, I've shown you what we like to buy, and I've given you my best Azure tips. If this content was at all helpful, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons, and also join us back here for more content as we continue on our homesteading journey. You can also follow along at the From Scratch Farmhouse on Instagram.
Welcome to the From Scratch Farmhouse. Come learn with us.